committee meeting. And Sarah, do you have the roll?
Yes, we have Vice Chair Sheriff Bigd. He's presiding with Chair Judge Meyer in court right now, so hopefully she'll be able to join us. We also have County Board Chair Kelly McCullough. We've got District Attorney Andrea Nodoff. We have Judge Wagner. We have DOC Supervisor Michelle Barrow. We have UW Stout Chief of Police Greg Colossus, and we have DHS Deputy Director Becky Albright in place of Paula Winter. And it looks like we did get County Manager Chris Corpola on the call here, so we have quorum for executive and operations.
Perfect. I will move on to item number 3 on the agenda then, approval of the minutes from April 2nd, 2025. Sarah sent that out in the packet. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, this is Chris. My camera's off because I'm in the car.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve minutes from April 2nd meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? Motion passes. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay. Considerations for actions to be taken by the committee to move to the CJCC. A bylaw change to delegate language. The proposed language change to the CJCC bylaws, page 3, paragraph 4, line 5. In order to ensure full commitment of stakeholders, a single designee may attend council meetings. It would be eliminating the wording of no more than 2 consecutive, and I believe adding single designee. Is that correct, Sarah? And you're muted.
Yes, that is correct. There's I'm sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once, so now I forget what I just was saying yes to. So this is just a bylaws change to clear up the language regarding delegates. So by adding a single word, and then deleting no more than 2 consecutive, we're able to really broaden that out. So we're able to get delegates to attend in order to have quorum, have actions, make decisions, do business.
All right. We have a motion before discussion on this.
So moved.
Chair McCullough moves.
I second.
Luke Wagner, Judge Wagner is second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, those in favor of this proposed language is put in the agenda. Signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Sarah, Battered Women Project donation recommendations. You want to touch on that?
Sure. So in your meeting packets, you should have received a kind of a 2-page document that summarizes kind of a meeting that was set with stakeholders and our pretrial coordinator. So I asked her to help kind of get this group together, spearhead some of the efforts that we're looking at with this donation. This donation we received back in, I think, late 2023. It was given to us for participating in the firearms mapping and attending the Battered Women's Justice Project training. Myself and an officer who's no longer with the force with MPD went over back in 2023 and took part in this training. We came home, we did our mapping session here locally, really as far as the whole process when we're talking about firearms removal, when there's domestic violence at play. The mapping did not really identify any big areas for or gaps that we need to, as a system, work on. So that was really reassuring. But we did receive this donation to use as we choose to use for whatever purpose. I've carried that money forward to 24. And we never really got to it last year, so now it's carried on to the 2025 budget. I would like to do something focused on battered women's justice project or some of those things, but ultimately we can decide to do with the funds what we choose. But Sandy Frigo got together a group. She's on vacation, otherwise she would have been here to present this. The members included the Bridge to Hope, the victim witness coordinator in the DA's office. We had a couple of them from the sheriff's office. We had 4 people from DHS, including Adult Protective Services. We had CJCC, Sandy Frigo, and then unfortunately the MPD Menominee Police rep couldn't attend this meeting when it was scheduled. So the group met on May 1st and really discussed possibilities of using, sorry, I'm getting an email message from Katie saying that she's having issues getting in. Let me just forward her this again. Sorry. Hard to do multiple things at the same time. Okay. All right, so they met and really discussed how this $5,000 could be most impactful to the victims and to people that are working in this area. So this is really just an outline of ideas, and what we're looking for from the executive is some guidance to either bring back to this this group that's coming up with recommendations, or moving forward with some of these recommendations that are outlined. So the first one is safe storage of firearms. So the sheriff's office is required to, when there is a firearm surrender, they have to house the firearm, keep it in safe, clean, working order. It sounds like there is a need for a storage unit in the sheriff's office for the firearms. The sheriff, I think it was Sandy did speak with Chief Deputy Moltoff on this. And he agreed that, yes, there is a need, but then he also said that they might be able to come up with some internal funding to get that that locker potentially. So he said that that would probably be one of the lower things on the need list, but nonetheless, certainly an obligation that we have as government to keep those firearms in safe working order and really prevent that perpetrator or suspected perpetrator from using them. The second category of funding assistance was for filing fees and for legal actions. So a lot of victims don't qualify to have their case filings waived, but they could benefit from assistance. They also mentioned just assistance to cover fees for restraining orders or filing for divorce. Another area of assistance could be legal consultations with lawyers. It was mentioned that Judicare funding has been slashed, so people have a challenge in getting that legal consultation. Another area of assistance is replacing important documents for victims and their children. So some examples were birth certificates, driver's license, social security cards. Sometimes these things are intentionally withheld or they're left behind when a victim is fleeing that situation. So just looking for potential support for helping them get those documents. And then another area of assistance is the cost of rental fee applications that the group mentioned. Just even the fact of moving or finding a new place, that it costs money even to submit an application. So the third bucket of recommendations, the first one was that safe storage. The second was funding assistance for legal actions and etc. The third area is short-term and long-term needs for assistance. So emergency housing was the big one that rose to the top of the list. So if the bridge is full, they do have a shelter, but if the bridge is full, there is a need for short-term hotel stays. There's also been identified needs with phone cards, gas cards, bus passes for victims. Some victims said that they could benefit from supportive care in their home. And this is mainly coming from our adult protective services. So sometimes there's a vulnerable person that is in the home that could benefit from in-home care. So kind of an expensive proposition, but certainly something that our adult protective services is seen as a need. Other assistance could be the cost of upfront counseling services, so co-pays or helping get established with counseling so before insurance kicks in for these victims. Other ideas were it'd be beneficial to purchase Ring cameras or other home security gadgets or equipment to increase the feeling of safetyness in their home. And then the last thing was financial assistance with parenting apps. There's a number of parenting apps that are relatively low cost, but there's cost to them that would be helpful for co-parenting when there's no contacts in place and other things. So kind of that's the long list of ideas that this work group put together. And I'll just pause for feedback from the group on their thoughts and their ideas. So, and I'll just recognize that Katie Shalley joined us here. She finally cracked the code and got in. So good to have you with us, Katie. All right, so thoughts, impressions of kind of the list of ideas to use the Battered Women's Justice Project funding.
Sarah, can I ask, was this earmarked from them for anything in particular?
No, it was just thank you for participating and here you go, here's $5,000. And she's like, do what you will with it. I was just trying to honor the intent of the funding rather than just have it go into the county coffers.
Right.
And Sarah, do you have a vision for how it would be administered through your office? Is that what you're thinking? Or like, yeah.
I don't think we've thought that far ahead. We were just trying to get the input. But I think as we're looking at kind of a similar process with the Crime Prevention Fund Board, as far as having funds available, having an application, having a website, having a process of approval, I think it could be done, yes.
So then that just makes me think about, I mean, first of all, kudos to the people who put together the list because it's a long and well thought through list of things, but could it be as simple as victim financial assistance? And then there's just an application process and any of the things in those categories.
Yes, it could. Yep.
So maybe the first person comes through and they need to get their driver's license replaced or whatever, and then the next person comes through and they need some money for application for rent, and the third one needs to, I don't know, buy a Ring doorbell, whatever.
I think that's a great idea. I just wonder if we want to put a limit on how much for each victim, so we don't have one person or one or two spending it all. Katie, is there any way you can tell me what the filing fee is for divorce restraining orders? Since I don't do those civil, I'm not sure what the cost is.
Yes, yep. So divorce is going to be $184.50 without children, $194.50 with children. There is no cost for a restraining order unless they're filing a harassment restraining order, and that would be $164.50 if they do that. So no cost for domestic abuse and child abuse restraining orders.
Thank you.
So I would think with $5,000 in the total pot, if you want to spread it out a little bit, a $200 cap maybe, because that hits those bigger fees.
That's exactly the number that came to my head.
Right.
I will note that if somebody is indigent and they don't have the financial means, they can always file a fee waiver with the court. So whether it's for a harassment restraining order or the divorces too, that those individuals could utilize that. So they may not need to use those funds. Just if they can't afford it, they can file a fee waiver.
I guess one question is, who do we put this out to notify, Bridge to Hope, or would notify people that these funds are available for financial assistance?
Right, so that,
I'd say Bridge to Hope.
oh, go
Victim
ahead, Kate.
witness. Oh, I was just gonna say, I'd say Bridge to Hope and victim witness, adult protective services.
Yeah, I like that idea. Any other thoughts?
Is this group interested in approving these as they come in at our meetings, or interested in just giving us that delegated authority where we can go up to $200 for any of these needs? Or what are the thoughts there?
My initial thought is government moves slow as it is now. If somebody's actually in financial need, it's probably an immediate need. And I would think somebody's got to be delegated, maybe an email e-vote or something between the executive board, just confirming and approving.
I agree with that too. I think it should be designated, delegated.
Yeah, I would think delegate and then just inform the board that it's happened. Or honestly, just delegate would be fine by me, but
I think Sarah and Sandy would make a lovely committee.
All right, and yeah, we can certainly report back those expenditures and staff reports and keep everybody informed at the kind of the utilization of them, but it sounds like kind of delegating that authority and keeping the board informed to really help meet those immediate needs.
Seems we have a consensus. Do we need to take action to move this to the full CJCC board, Sarah, or can we take that action today with a motion, second, and vote?
Well, this is kind of uncharted territory. I would think you have the executive authority to do this. As a courtesy, I like to move things to the CJCC, but this is really the body, I think, that would need to make that approval. Chris, does that sound correct?
Like you say, it's a bit uncharted. I think it's you could go either way, but I think it's not like it's a highly contested kind of area. So I think letting this group make the decision and reporting it to the school board would be Okay,
not the school board, the CJCC, the full board.
full board, yeah, let's go for it, full board.
Our next meeting of the council is August 21st. Realistically, I don't know that we're gonna have an application and a website built and all of that before then, so I think either way would be fine. If we want to take this to the CJCC or just keep it here.
I would entertain a motion to create a fund. I don't want to create the motion if somebody wants to make their own. But I've entertained a motion as to the direction we want to go with this.
I would move that the CJCC Executive Committee designate the funds, the $5,000 in women's what domestic violence monies toward any of the items created by the brainstorming group, and that the executive committee would be the decision-making authority for that, with a report out to the CJCC board at large. That was very long and complicated.
Would you also like to include a $200 cap for legal services?
Oh, I would love to.
I think the way you phrased that, this committee is still in charge of authorizing those. So would you want to add to that with that authority delegated to?
Oh, I would love that as well.
Sarah, have you got all of that?
Yeah, let me try to repeat back. So we had a motion for the CJCC executive to designate the $5,000 in Battered Women's Justice Project funds towards any of the items up to a limit of $200 that the brainstorming group list. An executive would be with the authorized delegate with executive would authorize and delegate to the CJCC office and report back to the CJCC.
Okay, seconded.
Not to make this more complicated, but if there's a victim and several children, technically all the children could be considered victims as well. So is it $200 per victim family, or that's what would be my proposal, $200 per victim family?
I think that was the intent of Chris's motion, but I want to have her clarify that.
Well, I think that Andrea could offer a friendly amendment to the motion to include that, and if somebody seconds it and we vote on it and it gets adopted to change my motion, it's great. Or I could just change my motion.
I think either one is fine in terms of parliamentary procedure. So I would suggest just include it in the original motion.
Okay. Right.
Chair McCullough, do you still second that then?
Oh, yes.
All right. I have a motion and a second. I'm not going to make Sarah try and repeat it again. Any further discussion about this? Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, local challenges, collaborations, and priorities. Sarah?
This is just an opportunity to have others kind of chime in if they do have any challenges, collaborations, or priorities that they want to mention. I guess I will mention in quick fashion, put together a grant last Friday for the Wisconsin Milkweed Alliance to do mobile peer support. So they are already one of our strong partners out there with law enforcement deflection and Project Hope. We're looking at how to maximize really the time, the peer support time. And this was a very narrow grant that didn't seem to have much applicability to my world. But when Kaleidoscope Milkweed Alliance saw it, they said that this could be one of those funding pieces that could help them kind of deliver what would be ideal in the community where we have more of that mobile support with peer support to go out there and to accompany law enforcement when there's some challenges going on. So that grant was submitted on Friday, and they did. We got confirmation that the Department of Justice received that, and that the focus of that grant is really to reduce firearm deaths, suicide deaths. It's really focused on deaths and reducing those deaths. So that is just a local collaboration that I just wanted to highlight. And I know Becky is kind of working on some of the work with Vital Strategies. Anything you can share with us, Becky?
Yes, I just met with public health this morning, so we're continuing to work on that very large possibility for the opioid settlement grant matching funds. Very hopeful that we can move forward with most of it. A lot of it I've gotten very blatant no's on from Vital Strategies, so they have a very narrow view in my opinion of what things can be used for. So we do have a meeting scheduled for, I believe, not next week, but the next. So I'll update everybody then on what the final word is.
That's good. Any other emerging trends, local challenges, collaborations, or priorities anybody would like to discuss? We are in the process of trying to get either caseworker or social worker grant funded and attached to Dylan, our BHO. So Sarah and my captain did some work, I think, on that the other day. And moving forward, I don't know if Sarah, did that job get posted?
I haven't checked that it was posted, but it should be. If it got through all the approvals that we were working on yesterday, and it is more focused on a caseworker type position. And as Sheriff said, it would be to support the behavioral health officers and law enforcement deflection. So that's internal, external posting for 2 weeks, and we'll see how it goes.
I've had somebody in to give us an estimate, which I haven't seen yet, for a desk for that person too. We're out of offices, so that person would have to share an office with Dylan, but get some office furniture in there for that person as well. All right, emerging trends and opportunities, DEA 2025 National Drug Threat Assessment. See, there was a press release attached to the packet.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of raise awareness of the executive summary. So it's just a quick way to kind of review what's going on out there. And if there is a link to that full report, it's 80 pages. But just wanted to highlight that some of the trends that they're seeing is there's been a 20% decrease in overdose deaths across the nation, which is fantastic. But they said the danger is still out there. Fentanyl, while the purity is going down, there is an increasing mixture of using fentanyls, animal tranquilizers, and other synthetic opioids in other drugs. So people don't know what they're consuming or even selling, and what's in the composition of those drugs. And they're saying that the mixing of these substances known as drug cocktails are becoming more and more common. A lot of this is really connected with, transnational terrorist or drug organizations. So just good information to kind of for us to stay on top of some of those trends. And like I said, there is a link if you want to read more information in detail on that press release.
All right, 2024 criminal justice data smash board discussion that was attached in the email as well.
Yeah, so Judge Meyer asked that we just kind of bring this back to see if we didn't have much time for discussion or comments after our CJCC meeting where some of this information was presented. We have had updates. We received all the DA's numbers and then fixed a couple of errors. So the latest version is May 21st. And just wondering from the group here if there was anything that caught your eye, you want to learn more about, or you're wondering where's the data on something, or just anything for discussion here.
All right, any questions on the smash board data? All right, hearing none. Agency reports. Anybody have anything in particular that they'd like to report that hasn't been discussed?
I would just ask Andrea. Andrea and I and Dan had a chance to meet yesterday, Jenna, about something else, and Andrea was talking about just the complications that come in prosecution with related to vulnerable child victims. Andrea, it feels like this is a good group to sort of give that background to, if you think that's appropriate.
Sure. I feel like this group is more educated in understanding the court process. So I wasn't real concerned. I just, I have a couple cases where there's plea agreements regarding child sexual assaults. And, I think the majority of the public views them very negatively. It seems like child sex offenders, the input from community members is, life in prison and really long time in prison. And I just don't, I was expressing my concern that, sometimes it's just not that easy, especially when we're dealing with young children. And I don't know if the majority of the public understands that, the child needs to come testify in front of their perpetrator, which is usually a parent or close family member, mom's boyfriend, or and so, there's a case that was resolved this week, and there's another one coming up where it's not a prison sentence. And, there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of is whether the victim can handle testifying in front of their perpetrator. And so I just wanted to share with the county kind of all of the different aspects that go into that, and that maybe this is an avenue to help educate the public regarding why it's not always, I share the belief that if someone could go to prison for sexually assaulting a child for 10 plus years, 20 years, I'm in favor of that, but it sometimes is just not feasible in every case.
Yeah, thank you. Any other agency reports? All right, the Sarah's staff report is attached in the packet as well. Any questions for Sarah? Or Sarah, anything you want to highlight?
The things that I wanted to highlight, I think you already touched on that social worker or caseworker position, and then that skip grant for mobile peer support.
All right, any questions for Sarah on her staff report? Tentatively, next meeting dates, Executive and Operations Committee is July 2nd. I think Sarah's kind of trying to take a unofficial poll as to who's actually going to be around that week. And I guess let her know. I looked at my calendar, Sarah. I can't honestly tell you if I'm going to be around that day or not yet. So I may have to get back to you on that one. And we have DNA and warrant fee mapping scheduled for July 29th, 5 to 7 p.m. It's the multi-purpose room upstairs, Judicial Center, room 1402. And then the CJCC quarterly, August 21st at 4 p.m. It's a hybrid. People encouraged to be in person. Same room, multi-purpose room upstairs at the Judicial Center, room 1402, with a Zoom option. Anything else, Sarah?
Nope, I think you covered it all. Thank you.
All right. In that case, we are adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
See you all
Thank you.
next time.